My name is Debbie Reynolds. They call me the Data Diva. Today I want to talk about the FTC, well, data privacy, the FTC, and the Rite Aid facial recognition case. So, Rite Aid is a pharmaceutical drugstore in the U.S., has many chains. It's actually a chain in the U.S. They were banned from using facial recognition technology for 5 years as a result of missteps in terms of the way that their facial recognition system was implemented and the way that it was used on the public. So uh, basically, the FTC fined Rite Aid. They said between the years of 2012 and 2020 that they scanned the faces of people who entered the stores. In addition to capturing their images, like maybe would happen in any other type of drugstore, Rite Aid actually used facial recognition databases. So they captured images of everyone who came into the store. They used databases to try to match those people against those databases. Some of those databases had very poor quality images. Some of those images, they tried to match it with people on the internet. Basically things you shouldn't be doing with facial recognition systems. They found that as a result of poor training of their employees, some of those employees would try to accuse or even try to get people arrested based on a false match or false positive match in some of these facial recognition systems. They touted a lack of accuracy in terms of how the facial recognition system was tested, and also privacy harms. So people who are in a store who are not doing anything, their images were captured and also stored in that database and also run through these types of facial recognition things. So in addition to the 5-year ban, this is pretty important, Rite Aid had to disgorge their data. So all the data that they had captured in those facial recognition systems, they have to delete. The data that they had passed on from those systems to any third parties, they have to delete that data. Also, they're saying that Rite Aid had to delete the algorithms as well. So this is a big deal because we know the facial recognition is not going away. We know that a lot of companies and organizations use facial recognition, but this is an example of how not to use facial recognition. It's very important when you're collecting data of individuals that you make sure that you're doing it in a way that's very transparent. Another thing that they cited Rite Aid for is not posting within their stores or somewhere is very conspicuous that they were using facial recognition technology. Also, unfortunately, a lot of marginalized groups were unfairly targeted as a result of errors that were in those systems that do not properly identify people of color or certain people in marginalized communities. So I think that the FTC chose this case because it's a good example of what not to do with facial recognition. Not to say that people can't use facial recognition, but there has to be that level of transparency. There has to be training. There has to be testing. Also, one of the things that was a problem in this particular case that they felt that Rite Aid also didn't take the proper steps to make sure that they have a comprehensive security and privacy program. That's very important when you move into these emerging technologies. I tell people, you know, when you, for example, in the old days, stores had video cameras, you know, maybe tape cameras where they were watching people to make sure they weren't doing things they weren't supposed to do within stores. And so when some companies, they think that this new emerging technology, facial recognition and biometrics is cool, but it's not a like for like exchange. So if companies are implementing any type of emerging technology, that's creating more risk. So you have to put guardrails in place. There has to be systems in place, training, have to make sure you're sure, as Stevie Wonder song says. It's very important that when that data is collected, that it's not retained for longer than is needed, and also making sure that it is necessary. So a lot of this they felt was very heavy-handed, totally unnecessary, and it caused tremendous harm and distress to the people who were accused falsely of doing things or misidentified in these systems. So I think the moral of the story is that companies, if they want to use these technologies, they need to be more circumspect. They need to make sure they have a plan in place, training in place, policies and procedures, making sure that that data is shared properly and they're not inferring things about people without proper channels and proper evidence. That's it. Thank you.